You've heard about it, haven't you? The legend of Codevil, or Codevil, as some would say. He was the leader of an underground fighting club. That's how it all started. Every week he would hold events in a barn out in the middle of nowhere, where men would show up and just beat the shit out of each other for virtually no reason. That's how it all started. Then he started teaching them other things, like how to get away with murder. Never use the same gun twice, he'd tell them. You use a gun on one man, you gotta use a knife on the next. You use a knife on the next, you gotta use a ball bat on the one after. See, then the cops don't know what to do. They think you're three different people. You know when people talk about hiding dead bodies and they say, "Well, I know a good pig farm." Yeah, he's where that whole thing started. He taught his people everything. He just had a presence to him. If you knew him, something in your brain changed. The kill or be killed instinct kicked in. You either became a hunter or the prey. He had his own team, his secret band of society's misfits, who were all out for revenge, ready to wreak as much terror on the world around them as possible. Until one day, some of his own people decided to turn on him. They decided they had learned everything they could from him, and they were done living in his shadow. Never create more devils than you can lie down. The rest of his people, the ones who still cared about him, were able to find his body before anyone disposed of it. Would they give him a proper burial? No. They had a better idea. They heard the tales of a factory in the middle of nowhere. Part urban legend, part urban fact. The factory that's built on sacred, evil ground. They figured maybe, just maybe, if they dumped his body off at the front door of the factory would bring him back to life. So they did. By the time anyone had found his body, rigor mortis had set in, and his skin was a deep purple. Vultures had already plucked out his eyeballs. Most of the people had no idea who he was, or why anyone would leave a body like this. But some of them knew. They knew who he was. They had heard the legend of Codevil before, and they weren't taking any chances. So they decided to dump the body into the wood chipper. Some say it worked. Codevil was finished. But others say the sacred ground of the factory brought him back, ready to haunt the earth. And that once you speak his name and know his story, he comes for you. And even if somehow you survive, you'll never be the same again. Your predator instincts will take over, and you'll become a killer just like the rest of them. It's kill or be killed. Codevil or Codevil. Kelly. Kelly was a sweet little girl with blonde hair and blue eyes. She was the type of girl that every girl wanted to be, and every guy wanted to be with. She had a full-time job working at an animal shelter. If I could adopt every animal that didn't have a home, I would, was her policy. She wouldn't hurt a fly. How could anyone not love this girl? Thing is, she was always working, so she didn't go out often. Then one night, on a decent Saturday night, she was invited to a bonfire at Raymond's parents' new house. Little did everyone know, this new house was on the same property where Codevil used to have his headquarters. They all sat around at a bonfire and shot the shit, and told a few ghost stories, including the legend of Codevil. Let's go over our list of people, shall we? There was Raymond, the host, the storyteller. Mike, the alpha, big football junkie. Kenzie, Mike's girlfriend, but she was more worried about how to get more followers on social media than she was him or any stupid campfire story. Colton, he's the one who brought the weed. And of course, Kelly, the horror movie expert. They all gathered in the field outside of Raymond's parents' house just to have a fire, kick back, and enjoy a nice Saturday night. When it came time to tell a few creepy stories, Raymond told his friends the legend of Codevil. "That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard," Mike said. "It's not bad. It adds to the culture," Kelly replied. "Dude, I'm way too high for this," Colton added. Then Kenzie griped in, "Can we get some music? I don't want to waste the battery on my phone anymore." Feeling slightly objected, Raymond obliged. "Okay," he says. "I'll go see if I can get my dad's old radio from the garage." He laid his beer down and headed up to the house. Raymond walked the long distance through the woods to his parents' garage to look for a boombox or something to provide music, when he noticed his dad's old katana blade samurai sword proudly mounted up on the wall. "That thing is so badass," he said aloud. But then carried on looking until he found his dad's old radio. "How the hell do you even turn this thing on?" he wondered to himself. He could hear footsteps behind him, and when he turned around, he saw Codevil, the legend himself, in the undead flesh. Raymond had to look a shock on his face, but all he could do was gasp. Before he even had time to do or say anything, Codevil grabbed the radio out of his hands and cracked him in the head with it. Raymond collapsed as the Codevil began bashing his brains in. He never had a chance. It all happened too fast for him. Raymond had passed the story of Codevil to his friends, and in doing so, spreaded the evil, giving the Codevil his power. Back at the fire, Kenzie asks, What the hell is taking him? How long does it take to find a stupid radio? Maybe he's getting us more beer, Mike suggests. Kenzie fired back with, well, whatever the hell it is, it takes too damn long. Huh. Maybe you should take notes, Mike. You never last very long. Ha ha! Frustrated, Mike gets up to go water a tree. He lets out a, fuck you! Before walking off. Kinsley looked over at Kelly and Colton and says, well, since he doesn't have any balls and can't be a proper gentleman, I guess I'll go check on Raymond. You guys need anything? Nah, I'm okay, Kelly replied. I got weed. I'm good, Colton added. Kenzie got up, pulled out her phone, and began to walk off. She actually started live streaming, walking down to the garage. Hey everybody! Leaving the scary ghost campfire to walk through the creepy woods to help my new boyfriend with his stupid radio. So glad you guys can be a part of... Ah! She dropped her phone and screamed at the top of her lungs. Never in her life had she seen anything like what laid before her eyes. Raymond's body, right outside the garage door, laying there in a pool of blood. His head was still cracked open, brain matter on the ground. And it wasn't just Raymond. It was his parents too. Codevil had gotten to them shortly after he was done with Raymond. And now all three bodies laid there, lifeless, side by side from one another. This was his land. He wasn't going to have anyone living or partying on it. Kenzie turned to run, but Codevil was right behind her. Her phone was in his hand now, and he shoved it right down her throat. She spent her whole life playing on her phone and died by choking on it. What the hell was that? Mike said by the fire. It sounded like Kenzie, Kelly replied. Dude, that's some sketchy shit, bro, Colton added. Mike got pissed and got ready to storm off. Mike, wait, Kelly said. I don't think Raymond would hurt her. That has to be something else. It might be best to stay here as a group. Fuck that, Mike replied, grabbing an empty beer bottle. That little freak better stay away from my girl. He marched off, yelling, Raymond, you sick pervert! You touch Kenzie, I swear I'll fucking kill you! Colton turned to Kelly and said, I have my gun in the car. Just chill here and I'll go get it. No way, she replied. We have to go together. Haven't you seen any of those old slasher movies? The killer always picks people off one by one. Back in the woods, Mike is still charging through the woods, yelling, Kenzie! Kenzie! Raymond, I swear to God, stay away from her! Mike passes through the trees, pushing branches out of his way, and sees the monster known as Codevil standing just a few feet ahead of him. Just towards there, towering over him. His purple skin, his mangled face, and no eyes, but staring directly at Mike. What the fuck? Mike said, a look of shock in his eyes as they widened. The Codevil tilted his head to the side. Mike blurts out, "You sick fuck!" and breaks the beer bottle over Codevil's head. It causes a gash on his head, and he stands there bleeding like a stuck pig. But overall, it didn't even slow him down. You can't kill what's already dead. Codevil hacked Mike in the ribs with the sword. He bled out as he fell to the ground, lifeless. Codevil stood up, looking at Mike's dismembered body, admiring his work, and then proceeded to walk to the fire pit. "Colton! Colton! He's here!" Kelly whispered loudly. "Hey!" As Codevil turned, Colton fired 6 shots at him, unloading the clip. Codevil dropped the sword and fell to the ground. And as Colton approached the body, Codevil sat right up. But how? 6 shots, and he just stood up like it was nothing. Like it was just a shove. Codevil grabbed Colton by the throat and chokeslammed him into the fire pit. Colton was burning alive, screaming. He ran. He tried to do the stop, drop, and roll, but it didn't work. The fire burned him to a crisp, and he was dead. Codevil looks on as he hears, "Go back to hell!" As soon as he turned around, Kelly decapitated him with the samurai sword. She stood there in tears. Is this the end? Or will he come back again? How will this affect Kelly mentally? Only time will tell. But the most important thing, remember, Codevil comes for anyone who speaks his name or spreads his story. Listeners, for your own safety, never say his name out loud. Never share his story with anyone. And if you do, please don't check those weird noises you hear at night.